How's everybody doing? And welcome to the kitchen. It's Chris Luckey, and of course Chef Chris here to give you another very nice dish tonight. I'm going to tell you, I've been making this dish for years, long before culinary arts school. And but tonight I'm going to make it just a little different. And does that have to do with school? You might say, and I'll tell you why. Because sometimes what happens is we get into a situation where we've made a dish a certain way for so long, and we think that that's it. That's it. Now, for restaurants and consistency, that holds true. But at home, come on. So tonight, I'm going to take you down south, or bring you down south, I should say, and we're going to do cube steak tonight. But we're going to do it a little differently. We're going to fry it, get a nice little crust on the outside, and then a little while back, I chopped some onions as we used last night. And I got one more bag. That's what's different. This time we're going to put onions and beef stock into the pan to make a nice gravy out of that. And then we're going to put our cube steak back in. And we're going to make this with mashed potatoes. So, first things first. We've got our pan nice and hot, and we're ready to go. Now, on this, I'm not looking for a lot of spice, not yet. We'll get that out of the gravy and the onions and all that. I'm just looking for just plain, simpleton stuff. So what we're going to do is we'll take some ground pepper, put right in our flour. Not too much, just a little bit, just enough to give it some flavor. A little salt. Now, some of you out there who cook with salt, use your salt shaker. That's okay. Some recipes you got to be careful of because you can't use iodine in it. So anyway, I use kosher, and it's perfect for cooking. So then take your ingredients here, and we're going to mix it up a little bit. Get that incorporated real good down in there. Some of you can take a whisk and do that, no problem. And you don't want a lot, just enough. Okay, so we've got our mix going here. And this is not going to be, it's not going to be over the top. We're not using egg, we're not using a regular dredge station. We're going to dredge in flour only. That's all we're going to use, okay? Get you a little oil. I love using my extra virgin olive oil. Yeah, we got a little smoke going on. Now, that pan, I will tell you, I heated it up pretty nicely, but I brought it back down over low heat. Now, it's smoking the oil, but it's not burning it. So it's not browning or burning that oil. So you don't want it quite as hot as I have it. That's all I can tell you there. I got a little too hot in the beginning, but it's okay. It's usable. A little butter. And that butter is going to add some flavor into this pan. It's also going to be, because we use that oil, it'll raise the smoke point just a little bit on that butter so you don't burn the butter. And it's nice because I have this down on a medium heat. Okay, it is a medium heat. So we're just going to take that and put our flour in here and dredge it in our flour. Let's see if we can't get that on here. And open it up a little bit. Get that flour down in those crevices. Get it down in there. Now, you're gonna want just a little bit more oil than that, Mr. Chris. There we go. I've got maybe a 1/4 inch of oil in there. You don't need a lot. A lot of people like to drown in oil. You don't have to, but you're gonna want to be careful when you put your cube steaks in, or anything for that matter, you drop it in oil. And take it and make it go away from you. Okay, so we're going to go here, put it right down in there. Get you another one. Turn that down a little more. Cast iron is what I'm using. And cast iron, once it gets hot, it's hard for it to come back down, too quickly anyway. But we're doing a southern dish, you got to have it in cast iron. Oh, you just got to. This is mainly the pan that I use for my cornbread. Now, I know some of you Southerners out there are going to go, oh no, Chris. You cannot use your cornbread pan with any other dish. Really? I love my flavoring and my seasoning in my pan. And it pulls right into that cornbread just as well, along with my bacon grease, which I could have used tonight. I do have bacon grease. I store and I keep. But we're not going to. Not for this demonstration. So, we will hang on to the remaining parts of our flour, and that'll go in to help our roux a little bit later. And sometimes I get these little pieces of meat that fall off of there. I'll go right in there and get it and put it in the pan. Why? Crispy, good flavor in the gravy. Oh yeah. So, there's that. And all we're looking to do here, we're looking about 2 to 3 minutes. Maybe 4 tops. Because what I'm going to do at that point, I'll show you. You're going to get that juice coming up to the top. We're going to turn it. We'll give it another 2 to 3 minutes on that side, and we're taking it off the fire. But we're going to get a nice crisp in here. Good sear. Good fry on here. As you can see, got my bag of onions. Now that's probably a little bit over an onion. It's about one and a half onions. You put 2, whatever you like. I didn't want a lot. It's going to cook down. Last night we did, of course, the French onion soup, and because of the size of these onions and how they were cut, Teresa didn't like the texture of them. She likes cooked onions, but she wants them to be a little smaller. And these were cut a little bit bigger before we put them in the freezer. Okay, so here we are. You can see here, let me come in a little closer here, that we are getting a little juice on the top, okay? So we're going to turn them. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Look at that browning, that nice sear. I'm going to tell you. Let me tell you what is giving that to us. That pan. I'll tell you, if you don't have a cast iron skillet in your arsenal, come on, get you one, season it up, don't worry about it, nothing's gonna hurt you. People have been cooking that pan seasoned like that for eons. Nobody's gotten sick from that. So we're gonna cook this for another 2 minutes, or about 2 minutes total, let's put it that way. And then we are going to divulge into putting these off to the side. And then we're going to cut up our potatoes and get those started so that they're done about the time that the gravy and everything else is done. We'll mash them all up and put a little garlic in them. Just a little. Lots of butter. And of course, maybe heavy cream and some milk mixed. And boy, will they be good. And that's how we're going to do our dinner tonight. So, we'll cook that, set it to the side. When I come back, we'll have our potatoes all prepped and ready to go. All right. Got our potatoes done. They're in there and they're getting ready to start to boil here. That water's coming up to temperature. Put a little salt back here, a little bit more. It's good. I want to show you something. Look at these. Look at these steaks. I didn't burn them. They're nice and charred and got a nice sear on them. And One of the reasons that you want to do that, obviously, is to get you a nice little crunch in there, and then that gravy and add that flavor, and it adds it to the pan. So, one of the things that we're going to do here in just a few minutes is we're going to start in on our gravy, and we'll mix that down here in just a little bit. We'll start with the onions and get those nice and in there, and of course we'll take those and cook them down a little bit, and then we'll add our stock, do a little seasoning. So our garlic is minced, and a lot of people are going, well, how much are you putting in there? Well, when you mince it down, it takes just a little bit of time, not too bad. About 2.5 cloves, and I'm using 5 potatoes, 2 of them rather large, 2 medium and 1 small. So there's that. Okay, now what we're going to do now is grab my spatula. One of the things that I love is about using my cast iron is that I can use my metal spatulas. And what we're going to do is I'm going to scrape. This is one of my favorite spatulas when I do use my cast iron skillet, because to get that char off there, I want to get it off. I want those little bits of flavor on the bottom, okay? And this particular spatula, I love a lot. It's a Mercer spatula, and it's called Hell's Handle. You can get it on Amazon. Doesn't cost that much, but it's very durable. This is very thick. It doesn't flex. It's got a nice sharp edge on it all the way around. It's great for a grill, flat top. All right. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to take our onions, turn our heat up a little bit to about medium. Now, this is going to take a little bit, and the reason why is because they were frozen. When they're frozen, you got to get the water out of them a little more, and obviously you got to get the temperature up. Being a cast iron, it shouldn't be too bad, and with these being still frozen, it'll take a little bit longer, obviously. And I'm going to take and make sure that we get them cooked down really nice, just so, you know, when it comes to putting that gravy together, that there's not huge chunks in there, because Therese doesn't like that texture. So I'm going to make sure that my customer is well taken care of. So when we come back on the other side here, we will be in the process of finishing up the sauteing of our onions and getting those nice and cooked down. And of course, it'll be time to put our roux together. And by then, our potatoes should be done. And we'll be mashing those down and putting those together. And then we'll plate up a nice dish for you. Looky here. Got these babies sauteing down. See the little specks on there? That's flavor. Flavor chips. All from our cube steak. And we've almost got them cooked completely down. That didn't take long. I am cooking on high right now. And there's a reason for that. First of all, we're going to make our roux here in just a second. And when I go to put our beef stock on top of it, we're not going to have to worry too much about it being too hot, because that'll cool that pan right back down, and we're going to bring it back up to a little bit of a simmering boil over about medium to medium high. Once that happens, we will integrate the cube steak back into the pan, and then we're going to let that cook. And like I said, we cook these steaks about 4 minutes on one side, about 2 minutes on the other. Got a nice, decent char on them. Enough to leave us some good flavor in the pan, enough to get a nice char on them. And then, now, we're going to let them cook the rest of the way when that comes up to a boil, and then a simmer Let that simmer for a little bit while we're waiting on our potatoes to finish up. By the time the potatoes are finished, dinner will be served. Okay, so onions looking real good, nice and brown. They're not burnt, cooked down. Got them all chopped up. You see that chopping? Now some of them are still a little long. That's okay. Those will cook down a little more. But see the little bits that I cooked here? All done with this. Didn't even need a knife. So we're going to take our leftover flour with all of its seasonings in it. We're going to go right over the top. Probably should have done this prior to, but we're going to add a little more fat in here. Okay, so we're going to take some more butter. Oops. Okay. And we're going to incorporate that together. Got fat going good. Add just a little bit more. I did, out of the 2½ cloves that I minced, put a couple of pinches of garlic in here. Just a little flavor, not much, just a little. Kind of blend it all together. Okay, so there's that. And probably total on that, I probably put in, I would say probably a teaspoon and a half. Just to get that incorporated with that flour good. And it'll come out to the consistency of wet sand on your onions, as you can see. For those of you who do not know and have never made a decent gravy like that. Now, we're going to take and try to incorporate that and get all that flour at least moisturized. I don't want a bunch of lumps. Okay? And we're getting pretty hot here, so we're going to go ahead and get this going here. Now, from the onions that you just cooked, and if there's any left, which I doubt at this point, of any little chars or chips from the steak on the bottom of the pan, that just became nil because we just deglazed the pan completely with that beef stock. And the flour will mingle with that, become nice and thick. We're going to bring it up to kind of a semi-simmering boil. We'll stir it, make sure it comes in real nice. That'll thicken up. If it doesn't get as thick as I want or as you want, add a little more flour, just a little bit. Not much. Looky here. We're putting our steak back in. And put that in there. Our roux has come and boiled. And we've got it down to a simmer boil right now. And our steaks are back in, and they're going to finish cooking within the heat that's in there. Okay? Now, check this out. This is what you're looking for, okay? You want this little bit of bubbling, nothing huge, and the consistency of our gravy that I used is a little runny yet, but that's going to tighten up. It'll tighten up a little bit more as it cools and as it sets. So I'm not going to add anything to it, at least not yet. If I need a little more flour in there to tighten that up a little bit more, then I'll do that, okay? And as you've seen, our potatoes are starting to boil, and it won't be long that they'll be finished. It'll be time to strain them. And then, of course, we'll do a little mashing, put a little bit of milk in there, lots of butter, and our garlic here, and we'll be all set. Okay, we've switched places on our pan here, and oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. I got to show you this. Okay, and the reason that's still bubbling a little bit more than I really would like it to is because we switched places with the pan, and that came off of that hot burner where we had that on high when we were boiling our potatoes. But the cool thing about this is is that it'll calm down and it'll simmer all right. But the thickness of that gravy, perfect, perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna mash our potatoes, and I will tell you that I am going to whip these with a mixer. And you're thinking, well, Chris, if you're going to do that, why are you mashing? I want to make sure that I have a good starting process and it goes a little smoother. I like them whipped. I want them smooth. Not runny, smooth potatoes, okay? One of the things we're going to do real quick here, get it started here. Whole stick of butter. Yeah, in the South, it's commonly known that butter is loved. And so is bacon grease, but we're not using that tonight. So we're going to put our butter in, okay? And these are the things that the mixer is going to help really chop up and melt down a little bit faster. We will add our milk here in just a second. I'm going to grab my heavy whipping cream. Aha! We'll pour a little bit in there. Doesn't have to be a lot. I just want that. I want that little bit of heavy cream in there. I want that beautiful thickness to come through. We'll take and put our garlic in. Then we'll take our I want to show you something. Look at that. So there are your wonderful mashed potatoes. Oh, check that gravy out. Oh, man, that looks good. You know what it's time to do? It's time to plate our dish. Supper, man. Gotta eat. Hungry. Scoop up some gravy, a few onions. And we'll finish it off with just a few little pieces of parsley and chives. There you go. Wonderful Southern dish. I absolutely love it, and my family has always loved it. It's all about the beef tonight. Have a great night. Happy cooking.